do a quick sound check with them and make sure. Okay. Councilman Freeman, can you hear me? Thank you. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We're going to get started here in just a moment.
We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. At this time, we're going to have our clerk read the roll.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor. Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Mosley. Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present except for Mosley.
At this time, we will be led in prayer by Minister Gwendolyn Grimes of the City of Joy. For all those who wish to, you can stand. Immediately following our prayer, I'm going to ask if Councilwoman Amobian will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
So, Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather once more to bring glory and honor to your name. We thank you for your presence, your peace, your joy, and protection that follow us throughout the day. Lord, we understand that you are sovereign over all, so we humbly submit our mind, our will, our emotions. We submit our vision, our agenda, in order that we may make sound decisions to coordinate, legislate, and communicate and plan according to your purpose and your will for the city of Akron. Father, you said that when our ways please you, that you would give us the desires of our hearts. And Lord, our heart desire is to see the city of Akron flourishing, expanding, healthy, secure, and full of opportunities. Father, we pray that as we come together in unity, oneness, harmony, and one accord in order for this session to be productive as possible. Let wisdom and understanding guide us through every difficulty, while grace, compassion, and love be the means by which we see. We ask all these things in your precious Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the
United States of America
and to the republic for which it
stands
one
nation
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. Roll call.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor. Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Abstain.
Amobian. Somerville.
Aye.
The minutes pass 11-0 with one abstention.
Before you, you have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor. Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
The consent agenda passes 12-0.
We do have two public hearings scheduled for this evening. I'll ask our clerk to read in item number 1.
Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, March 28, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a Type A daycare home at 539 Castle Boulevard.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of council. Latasha Swoop is requesting permission to establish a Type A child daycare home at this location. The petitioner presently operates Castle Kids, A Board of Zoning Appeals approved child daycare home for up to 9 children at this location. As proposed, a child daycare home would be expanded to include up to 12 children, ranging in age from 6 weeks to 12 years. Daycare services will be available 24 hours, 7 days a week. The house contains roughly 1,968 square feet of area. No changes are proposed for the interior or the exterior of the house. Pickup and drop-off would occur within the concrete driveway. An area along the north edge of the property would continue to be used as an outdoor play area. The request for up to 12 children will allow the petitioner greater flexibility and the ability to serve entire families. While daycare services will continuously be available, the majority of the services provided will be during the daytime. This Northwest Akron neighborhood property is operated as a daycare home for up to 9 children for 14 years. The option of having up to 3 more children at this daycare should not have a detrimental effect on the adjacent Type A daycare home or neighboring properties, and providing quality daycare service is beneficial to the entire city. Such Office of Integrated Development, Planning Commission, and planning staff recommend approval subject to conditions.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask if there's anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or against this particular ordinance, that you please stand now so that you may be sworn in by a member of our law department. Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will go ahead. We will open up our public hearing, and just want to make sure that we don't have anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak against or for this ordinance. And seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead. We'll close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
Yeah, I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Kamer?
Aye.
Connor? Baylor?
Aye.
Mosley?
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any objections of suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, President Somerville. The recommendation of the Planning Department and the Commission, as well as the Ward Council representative, is favorable on this particular item, and there's 4 conditions that we are requesting be met, and with that, we're going to recommend approval this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor?
Aye.
Connor? Freeman?
Aye.
Fusco? Holland?
Aye.
Kamer?
Aye.
Lombardo?
Aye.
McKittrick?
Aye.
Malik?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Amobian? Somerville?
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0. Public hearing number 2. Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, March 28th, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance amending the zoning map by changing the single-family residential use district classification, U1 H1A1 use, and apartment house use district classification, U2 H2A3 use, on property located at 2744 Manchester Road to a retail business use district classification, U3 H2A3 use.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of council. The Planning Department has investigated the possibility of rezoning property at 2744 Manchester Road from single-family, apartment, house, and retail use district to all retail use district, which would be U3 H2A3. The site, formerly Young's Restaurant, is now vacant land with an asphalt lot set between Manchester Road and the southeastern edge of Nesmith Lake. Young's Restaurant and the surrounding land was purchased by the city in 2008 and raised in 2010. It has remained undeveloped since that time. To assist in marketing the property for future development, the Office of Integrated Development and planning staff was of the opinion that the rezoning of the entire subject property to a retail business use district, U3 H2A3, is logical and will remove a barrier to redevelopment. Future development would allow for residential, office, and neighborhood and regional retail uses. So the Office of Integrated Development, Planning Commission, and planning staff recommend approval.
Thank you so much, Mr. Antonucci. We're going to go ahead and open up our public hearing for this evening. Is there anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or against item number 2? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will go ahead and close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the pleasure of the committee?
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, President Somerville. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Kamer?
Aye.
Connor? Baylor? Baylor?
Aye.
Mosley. Very good. The request of the committees is favorable with suspension of the rules.
Okay, thank you so much. Any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is, I would say, and I know that the Ward Council Representative, Mr. Freeman's in favor of this moving forward. The city is intending on putting out an RFP. This is a valuable piece of land area, which consists of 1.85 acres, formerly known as a Young's Restaurant. That's where that used to be located. This is waterfront. An RFP is going to go out, and so it would be exciting to see a developer go in, especially given what we're doing here today in terms of setting the stage to make it easier for a developer to come in and develop this particular property. So we're hoping for the best on this, and we recommend approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor? Baylor?
Aye. I don't know how that came off.
Connor? Freeman?
Aye.
Fusco?
Aye.
Holland?
Aye.
Kamer?
Aye.
Lombardo?
Aye.
McKittrick?
Aye.
Malik?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Amobian? Somerville?
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0.
We will continue with our old business, planning and economic development. Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you. Time on 3 and 4. File item number 5. That's the petition for the conditional use that we just voted on Castle Boulevard. And time on the balance of the agenda.
Time will be granted. We'll now move to budget and finance. Councilman Freeman.
Yes, the committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for approval on the resolution.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any comments at this time regarding item number 1? Councilman Neal?
Thank you. I appreciate most of the dialogue that we've been able to have regarding the budget. I did get some of the information to the questions that I asked, but I have serious concerns. We're at a time when we have these ARPA dollars that have come into our community. We've had meetings in all of our wards and engaged our citizens, and they share with us how they want to have input on how we spend these dollars. Matter of fact, the U.S. Treasury demands that we give citizens input, that we be transparent. We have a chance to budget dollars for immediate needs within our ward. This would not touch our annual budget. That capital and operation is close to a little over $750 million as it is already. We're talking about $145 million, and yet we have not allocated $1 as council to our wards. We had meetings with our constituents. They shared their concerns and how they wanted money to come in. If we don't do it now, when do we do it? It's almost like we're disrespecting their request as a collective body. They came out, and I know my residents were passionate about what they wanted to see, housing for small housing rehab programs, things that address the youth engagement in the ward. And so that's one concern that I have. The other is I'm concerned about actually being able to discern how the ARPA dollars are being spent. I mean, I know it's listed out, but I expressed them during the capital, still with the operating, especially based on the way that they came in to us. I mean, we still don't have our tracking method up. At least 5 of us on council expressed concern about that back in September. And here we are in March, we still don't have that in place. Also, within the budget, we talked about being transparent and putting things in place so that we can have citizen engagement tools. Now, this council passed putting the budget online almost 6-7 years ago now. We still don't have that tool in place. There's also the legislative tool where they could follow the legislation through. If we don't do it during the budget process, we're not going to do it. The budget shows where our true priorities are. You know, they say where your money is, that's where your heart is. And we have an opportunity to do that. One other thing is, you know, we're in the midst of the equity piece. Within council, we haven't put in money for training for ourselves, and haven't put in a plan for the equity. And I also feel that part of the budget violates our charter. So for those reasons, I won't be able to support it.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Vesco?
Yes, thank you. I rise in support of the operating budget and appreciate all the time, as mentioned this afternoon, that all of our employees throughout the city, the management side, putting this together. Certainly appreciate it. I know Council Representative Freeman, who chaired these meetings during budget week, kept them moving. A lot to cover in a short time frame. But I rise in favor of this. We had set aside dollars based on the recommendation of the Social Justice Task Force, and about $100,000 to get that started. It's going to take some time, especially given this is the racial equity position that we spoke about, especially given the fact that there has been so much already done in various departments of the city at the direction of the mayor in terms of the racial equity portion. And so it's going to take some time, and there's a lot of questions still yet to be resolved, and I'm sure that they're going to be. We look forward to seeing that position filled soon. And appreciate that comments around that. In terms of the equity portion of this particular budget, and as it relates to the ARPA dollars, we have already, a lot of this is defined for us in terms of what the federal government, who just, from what I understand, last month released the final settings in terms of what is the parameters in which we have to operate within. A lot of that's laid out for us. A lot of these funds, the majority of these funds, as many of us know, is going to go to those hardest hit communities. It's already laid out for us. It does, and we do have, in a matter of weeks probably, that's what we heard last week, the portal is going to be open, and that's, again, continued communication with the residents of Akron in terms of what their hopes and aspirations are in terms of the ARPA dollars that are coming forward. 2024, really this is, it was announced last year, but the finality in terms of the way we're going to be able to spend this and those sidelines that we've got to stay within is just been approved by the feds last month. Also, it's important to mention that many of the community, I attended quite a few of those meetings, and those passions that we had seen in every ward in terms of what, again, the aspirations of the residents of Akron want to see. And we have till the end of 2024 to commit where those are going to be spent, and we have till the end of 2026 to spend those funds. I don't want to say it's the first inning here, but we've just kind of started the game, and there's a lot to go. There's going to be quite a bit of the game to be played here, so a lot of work ahead, and I know we're all going to be watching carefully how we're going to be moving forward on this. So with that, I stand in favor of the operating budget. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Fusco. Councilwoman Amobian, I think I saw your hand first.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to just state for the record that I too am concerned about how slowly some parts are being rolled out. Because when I first read about these dollars and know that we had $145 million coming to this city, totally unexpected money, and it's not so much that the staff hasn't worked hard to figure out where we put these, what buckets we put them in, because I know they are, and I know they have laid out for us where 65.2 million of this money is going already. So we have close to 80 million more dollars to allocate. My only concern is that when you listen to any of the federal leadership that we heard recently in Washington, everybody talked about an equitable budget. And the fact of the matter is they wanted to make sure that these dollars get to those people who are most in need. That is where my concern is. Why aren't we rolling out these dollars quicker to those folks who are in need? I asked Montrella Jackson to send information about evictions, since we have a terrible reputation of having a very high eviction rate. And she sent over, and I saw her on Saturday, and she said she could only get the 2021 numbers, but the 2022 numbers would be coming. And we had something like 2,407 evictions in 2021. Now it says closed cases 1,800. I'm assuming that they are closed because somehow they were settled. I don't know if I can appreciate or understand that this is positively settled with folks being able to stay in their homes. Probably not. But you still have 607 folks on the roster of the court. And those are the evictions. And then we talk about individuals who need their homes rehab. And I thank Mr. Volman for sending me the tentative timeline. I felt much better about the rehab proposal after seeing that there is a plan that they're working on, and it tells me that they're hoping to have the program parameters finalized soon, early April, hire a program manager in mid-April, finalize the program applications and so forth in April. You know, this is the kind of information we need to get out to the public, and I realize we need to wait until we get all of the particulars. But still, it's nice to know that somebody's going to be working on this. And by June, July or something, we're hoping to start rehabbing homes. And that is a proposed timeline. That made me feel much, much better. But still, I think it's too slow when it comes to helping poor people who need attention right away. The other thing I wanted to point out was, you know, all the money that's down under the city budget for stabilization, I have no problem with any of that, because I know that a lot of these dollars are to stabilize cities because their budgets were terribly impacted by COVID. So there are a number of things that I really appreciate, and I hope the public can too. But as soon as we can get some of these other things rolled out, I will feel much, much, much better. And I plan to support the budget, but I want to state my concerns about the slow rollout of the parts that I'm concerned about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I do see our chair, Councilman Freeman.
Yes, I just, before we vote, I did want to say thanks to Mr. Fricker. I think I see him in the chambers there this evening, and Steve, just please tell your team we appreciate, we know this is a big job on any year, but then when you throw another $145 million on top of it, what a task. So just wanted to express my appreciation to the finance team there. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Malik?
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to make a couple points responding to what was said by some of my colleagues. First of all, I want to, like our chair, I want to thank everyone in the city administration and particularly in our finance department for their hard work on this budget. I agree with a lot of the priorities that are in the budget. I don't agree with all of them. I think we've all talked about some of those things. Mr. Neal made a couple points, and I think he knows that I agree with him about a lot of the points about engagement, right? A lot of the ARPA money was spoken for and allocated before council and before the public had an opportunity to provide input, right? And I don't think the public has had a real and meaningful opportunity on that regard, or even frankly, with regard to this budget, there haven't been processes and the amount of time to have real meaningful input from citizens. Part of that is our responsibility, right? But I do think there is an opportunity for more voice from residents. I think, the only member of the public who commented on the budget during public comment period in the audience. Maybe we can make that 10 times more next year, or 50 times more next year. We can hope. But I do want to disagree with my colleague on one point, respectfully. I don't believe that it's appropriate that we allocate money specifically with particular council members allocating for specific projects in their wards. I think that if we were talking about a system in which we were a much bigger city and we each had, staff and could coordinate those things, that might make sense. But when it was just individual people, I think that's a recipe for disaster, really. And absolutely, the money should be spent in the hardest hit neighborhoods and in the wards that need it most. And I believe it will be, and we absolutely have a role in holding accountability for that. But I do think that individual council members allocating money is not a recipe for success, particularly when we should be spending this in concert with the county. We should be spending in concert with the school districts, not spending it as individually as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to rise in support of this budget. What I want to bring up is the phone call that I received last week. If memory serves me correct, that was the first time I ever received a phone call from the administration in regards to asking if I had any concerns or questions about the budget. So thank you, Gert Wellens, Chief of Staff, for giving me that phone call. I don't have any concerns, but we did discuss a few questions that I had on the budget, and if it wasn't for that phone call, I wouldn't have been able to bring those questions up and discuss that. So I just want to say thank you to the Chief of Staff for reaching out to me, and I believe she reached out to all colleagues. I'm not sure on that, but I appreciate that. So, Madam President, I just wanted to recognize her and let you know that she reached out to me, and I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Holland?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to join my colleagues in thanking Mr. Fricker and his entire department for extraordinary work. The numbers, the detail has been truly, truly mind-blowing. And I am so appreciative of the time and attention my questions and everyone's questions have been given. Thank you so much for all of that. I'd like to echo what Councilman Kamer said as well. I am so grateful for the willingness of the administration to entertain my questions, specifically for Chief of Staff Ms. Wilms, to communicate with me directly and to address ideas and concerns and questions that I've had along the way. This is a very serious process, and this was my first budget process. And I was grateful for an opportunity to be able to address concerns that were brought to me by residents, but also to address issues and concerns that I had myself as a representative of Ward 1. I think that there are many things that bespeak the wisdom that's reflected in this budget, and I am proud to stand in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Amobian, did I see your hand?
I only wanted to add to my comments that I don't think Mr. Neal is asking to make unilateral decisions about his ward. I think when we went out to the public, and I know that I stood in for, I don't know if I stood in for, but I represented Councilwoman Mosley because she was ill at the time, that we certainly gave the impression to the public that we wanted to hear their input and that we would be coming back. We made a point of saying that we would be coming back to you to let you know how the dollars would be allocated and hopefully spent, but that we would take their concerns into consideration. And I think that is what I'm hearing from Mr. Neal, is that he, along with his residents, would be having some input into what they would like to see in their particular ward. as I think what happened in most of the discussions we had. Again, you know, $145 million is a lot of money, and I think people probably felt it was going to be like Christmas when this was rolled out. I realize that we have a lot of needs in this city, but we still have almost $80 million to distribute and to roll out. So I am looking forward to that, and hopefully we will engage the public continuously on what we hope to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Connor? Thank you. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the comments. I do want to clarify. These dollars that are coming into our community, we are to create sustainable infrastructure for change, not just spend these dollars. So my colleague was correct. This is creating systems that engage our constituents in the process. I've shared some of this with some of my colleagues. There's a process called the participatory budget process. Some cities set aside 10% of their budget for citizens to have oversight. They have that infrastructure built into their democratic process. So no, this isn't, first, if we are not responsible enough to engage our citizens, the system that would engage our citizens shouldn't be different in Ward 4 than it is in Ward 8 or Ward 9 or Ward 7. We should have a system that is unilateral, but that takes us as council coming together to put those processes in place so that residents, no matter what ward they're in, the system is the same. You know, we joke about McDonald's, about, oh, that person works at McDonald's, but McDonald's has the best process of any company in the world. They can take a person that's never worked in their life before, plug them in there, and that burger is going to taste the same no matter if they make that burger in Los Angeles, Akron, New York, or Hong Kong. Our system for engaging our citizens and making them feel a part of this city and that we are really listening to their voice should be the same. But that takes us sitting down and working out a system that works. There are tools out there. I mentioned the Citizens Participatory Budget process. We had the one who invented Budget Act come here and work with us to put a tool in where people can be a part of the budget. There is On-Base, Granicus, both have tools that allow people to be a part of the legislative process, but it takes us making it a priority. So my part was us putting in systems so that no matter what ward someone works in, they can go to another ward and understand that the system is the same and they can have participation. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. I do too want to just thank all of those who helped in preparing for our budget, and we've had a lot of great conversation and dialogue. Also just really wanted to hone in on the one piece, because I think that this is something that all of council and the city should be really proud of. The fact that we have set aside $100,000 to create an equity cabinet position, a person who will wake up every day focusing on equity and diversity and inclusion in our city. We know how important that is. And so I want to take an opportunity just to thank a few people. I want to thank the Racial Justice Task Force for taking just their time to give their knowledge and their expertise. We want them to know that their work was not in vain. And it is my hope that this body, we will continue to look at those recommendations and see how we can breathe life into them to create more change here in our own city. I also want to thank Councilman Malik. I know that you too felt very passionate about this position. Want to make it also very clear, we would not be even talking about this position and this $100,000 if it was not for also Councilman Fusco, his willingness to come and sit with me and talk with the mayor. We want to also thank the mayor for being open and willing to listen about how important this position was to us. And so we're excited about this position. We were really intentional that we've only funded it for the last 6 months of the year, because we don't want to just do something for the sake of doing something because it looks good or it sounds good, right? We talk a lot about equity, but we really want to do that. And so we want to spend time to really figure out, what is the goal? What is the scope of work? And whomever gets this position, making sure that they have everything that they need to be successful in that role. And so we're really excited about it because, again, this is an opportunity for the city of Akron to lead in addressing disparities in our community and really be intentional about closing the gaps and removing some of those barriers. So again, I think this is work that all of us really should be proud of. So at this moment in time, if there's nothing else, I think we'll go ahead and we will call for the vote. Roll call, please.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor. Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Nay.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This resolution passes 11-1. The second item on the Budget and Finance agenda does have a substitute offered as an amendment I would like to read in. This is offered by Freeman, Fusco, and Somerville. Ordinance to make the annual appropriation for the current expenses, other expenditures, and the capital outlays of the City of Akron for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman?
Yes, the committee met today, and our report is favorable, and we're asking for its passage.
Very good. Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended. Councilman Freeman, do you have any further comments before we take the vote?
We've had a lot of conversation around this, and we're looking forward to a lot of challenges coming up. Just appreciate each and every person that was able to attend the budget hearings throughout the week, and thanks everyone for your cooperation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So at this time, roll call.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor. Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Abstain.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This one passes 11-0 with one abstention.
Okay, that concludes our old business. We'll now move into new legislation, starting with Budget and Finance.
Item number 1 was the substitute. Item number 2 is offered by Mayor Horrigan. Ordinance authorizing an agreement between the Local 1360 Ohio Council 8 of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees Bargaining Unit and the City of Akron regarding employee wage increases through calendar year 2022, providing for these adjustments to apply to all employees in the non-bargaining, management, and unclassified job classes as well, all in furtherance of the Mayor's commitment to appropriately address changes in the cost of living and to attract and retain qualified employees, all while economically utilizing taxpayer dollars to provide vital quality services to the citizens of the City of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman?
Yes, the committee requested that this item be placed on the consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 3, offered by Fusco, ordinance amending the zoning map by changing the ordinary industry use district U5H3A1 and commercial use district U4H3A1 and A4 classifications within the area bounded by East Mill Street on the north, the existing retail business use district U3 on the west, the existing university district, and the state of Ohio property adjacent to the Metro Regional Transit Authority property on the east and East Exchange Street on the south to a retail business use district, U3H3A3 classification, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Refer.
This item will be referred.
Item number 4, offered by Councilman Freeman, ordinance changing the name of a portion of Kenmore Alley South to Virgil Lay Way and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. The request of the committee is for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, I'd like to yield to Council Representative Freeman, whose ward this is in, who's championed this proposal, and this very meaningful proposal, I should say. Mr. Freeman, if it's okay with the President.
Thank you. Folks maybe outside of the 9th Ward might not know who Virgil Lay was. Was really kind of a pioneer and in the guitar business, repairing guitars, as we mentioned this afternoon, repaired and did work on guitars for a lot of artists that we would know that are household names, Ginger Baker or Jack Bruce, Joe Walsh, goes on and on. And I'd like to also thank Kenmore Neighborhood Alliance, who has been doing so much work on the boulevard. And this idea really was kind of born with them as we continue to see development on the boulevard. And we look forward to renaming the alleyway after this man who brought so much life and vitality to our small business district for so many years. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Councilman Freeman. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor. Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0. Item number 5, offered by Mosley. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to submit an application and enter into an agreement with the Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority for a Community Recycling Access Grant in furtherance of Mayor Horgan's objectives of supporting new and existing community recycling projects, authorizing the use of the funds if awarded, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. This grant is to allow the sanitation department to promote public education and to offset the cost of recycling. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor. Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0.
That concludes our new business for this evening. We'll now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. Clerk, do we have any participants online?
Yes, we have 2 that are coming in from the waiting room now. That's Ali Coker and Dee McCall.
Okay, we'll give them a few minutes to come on with us. During our public comment process, I'm just going to ask that you please give us your name, your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting, so your remarks should be kept germane to council business. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from Chambers or from our live. So at this time, I'm just going to ask all of those who are participating, if you would please be sworn in by a member of our law department. So those that are in the audience, you can stand, and then those that are online, we just ask you to take yourselves off of unmute.
Okay, good evening. For all of those who wish to testify before this body tonight, would you please raise your right hands? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and we're going to start with those who are online with us. Mr. Coker.
Good evening, everybody. First off, I would like to say that I'm pleased to hear about the position opening about social equity. That is good news to me. And second, I want to bring up the medical marijuana program of Ohio has reported sales averaging between 3,000 and 4,000 pounds a month, grossing at $762 million in product sales as of March 21st. And this is only numbers from an exclusive market, just patients, and which is only a portion of the actual population. And no tax revenue has been reported about these sales, yet there are so many issues with affordable housing and living wages and education programs that all could be contributed to by a legal market with a legal inclusive market with tax revenue. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Coker. Reverend Beatty? Turn your mic on. Is it on?
Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay, thank you. Madam President and members of the council, I just mailed in Linda's and my income tax form to the city this afternoon, and for the life of me, I don't pay any income tax to the city. Now, I know we have very good tax consultants, but I am beginning to feel guilty. For years, I have not paid any income tax to the city of Akron. I'm kind of glad about that, but I'm also feeling guilty because I think having really a better income in retirement than I had many times in the pastorate, I just wonder, because unfortunately I think the city makes up for this lack of income tax with very high water and sewer bills. And I wonder if those who are less fortunate than my wife and I could get a little help from our ARPA funds. If I'm not mistaken, and I think we've mentioned this tonight, it is because we have such a high rate of poverty and homelessness in Akron that we've been given by the federal government such a generous amount of money to the tune of $145 million. Since those who are poor and homeless, because of their hardship, in a sense, have provided these funds for all of us, couldn't we give a little to those of us who have suffered the most from the COVID epidemic? Instead of beautifying for the downtown Akron residents like First Energy, Huntington Bank, and so forth, to beautify Lock 3, 4, and 5 with millions of dollars of our limited ARPA funds. How about giving $1 million or so directly to the homeless and building a small village of tiny houses that they can call home where they can be safe, warm, and comfortable to work on their other problems like addiction, mental illness, sexual trauma, and chronic physical illness. Where are our funds going? It seems to me that if you took a survey of all of the residents of Akron, I do not think they would prioritize beautifying an already beautiful park and addition 4 and 5 locks. I don't think they would prioritize that.
Limit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Reverend Beatty. Thank you. Is Virginia Weber in council chambers with us? Virginia Weber? Lucinda Albright?
Hi, I'm Lucinda Albright, and I reside at the Mayflower, and this is in regards to their practices there. I've been an exemplary tenant for about 8 years now. Since capital management has came in, there's been many issues. They have been, it's borderline, it's abusive, and they're preying on the disadvantaged elderly. We recently had a remodel. There was a couple floors that had to leave what was a 3 to 5 week period. I was one of those floors. We were gone for 4 months. Our apartments were left wide open to the public, access to anybody. Our stuff was left out in the hallways, and we were not allowed to secure our own property. They destroyed our property, destroyed it. They sliced stuff, they cut stuff, they took hammers to it, they took my clothes, put them in the shower that were vacuum packed. They took shoes and put them all around. You know, we didn't catch that in time, so we lost all our shoes. Took me 3.5 hours to get to half of my bedroom. They had my couch bed upside down, touching the ceiling. They took a saw to my furniture. These were great pieces. They chopped off ends of one heirloom piece. We were told other areas where we were told to park in an Akron U area. This was not permitted. Our cars got towed. Management told us to park there. I currently do not have anything in writing, haven't had anything in writing since 2020 regarding my rental obligation every month. I've tried to recertify. I've went down there 11 times. These are things that I've read the HUD guidelines as far as recertification regarding yearly income, and I followed those. These were not accepted by the accountant or who does the accounting. They were unable to read my 1040A tax form properly and applied it wrong. This happened twice. They assumed I got Social Security, and these are multiple times. I started emailing them on June 26th of last year, knowing that I wasn't going to get this done in time. They said I owed around $6,000. Now it's down to $800, and I still don't have anything in writing. I got as I passed down the hall, she says, I think you owe $38 a month. That's all I've gotten out of her. I believe that this is deliberate. They have no consequences. They continue these practices. I had a 10-day leak that poured in, ruined everything. I broke my hand with styrofoam I had placed on my floor because there was standing water. I had to move out. 10 days later, it finally got fixed when I called the health department. And by Tuesday, that was a Monday. I called at noon on Monday, and it was fixed by 4. Tuesday, they threatened me with eviction.
Excuse me, you've reached your time limit.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Albright, I want to just tell you before you take your seat, we're going to make sure that we address your concerns, and so we're going to connect you with your councilwoman, which is Councilwoman Holland, and also want to connect you with Councilman Fusco, who is the chair of housing.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very
So
much.
he'll probably talk to you after the meeting for sure, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Is Louise Yost here in the audience with us? Jimmy Watkins. Bernice.
To you, Madam President and the council, my name is Bernice White, and we have a bar downtown. It was a shooting went on last year, and we were kind of cited for it, but it didn't happen in the perimeters of our bar. They just said it was down the street in the parking lot. And we did file an appeal to go to court. They lost the appeal. Don't know what happened. They're trying to take the license. We never had any violations there. The place is called Mature Lounge on Main Street. It's right across the street from the ball field. Been open for like a month so far, and they decided the state wanted to take the license. For what, we don't know. But we just asking that if Ms. Tira Samples, if she could maybe, I don't know, after she hears the stories that has been told today about it, could she maybe write a letter of recommendation, or y'all can point us in a direction so we can get this resolved and try to maintain a nice, safe place for people to go and eat and do. We just want to just to support, to try to, we don't know what direction to go to try to get the support that we need to keep the license, I don't know why they want to take them, because we don't have any violations. So I'm just thinking that if we can get some support through councils, we don't know what direction to take, but we're going to comply with the courts, and everything they want us to do to try to get it back open. But we'll do the best we can to make sure we maintain a safe environment. It is downtown, so we're trying to be maturely and have mature people there. We just hopefully, if you can just let us know what direction to go into, we'll, keep in touch with you and everything, and so we know what channels, the proper channels to take.
Okay, Bernice, thank you so much. And what we'll do is we'll get in contact with you. We'll find out who the council representative is for your business, and we'll make sure that you guys get connected, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Harrington Hargrove.
Good evening, Council. My name is Harrington Hargrove. I live at 1008 Laurel Avenue, Akron, 44307, Ward 3. And I'm concerned about those ARPA dollars myself, for the simple fact they said that money, quite a bit of that money will reach the black communities. And the communities that was hit hardest would get more money. I live in Ward 3. We haven't received any money for the black community down there in 30 years. So is our community on the top of the list to get money? This council, why do you have to bring in someone to report something that you already know? That the black community in Akron has been excluded. All of you know this. All of you. So we should be on the first go around of the money. Why do we have to wait another year or 6 months? Why isn't the black community on top of the agenda for funding? Madam President, can you answer that for me? And another thing, I spoke last week, and the disconcern I got from one of these councilmen, I told my councilwoman about it. As I spoke, he disrespected not me, but the black community because he turned his back. And I don't take lightly to how this council has treated the black community. Every one of you know in this room what's been going on in this black community. Ward 3 stretched from Dart Street to Main Street. They got all the money. From Rose Avenue to East Avenue, they got nothing. You want to give us $10,000 or $20,000 and we're supposed to be satisfied. How can that uplift us? You don't give that to downtown Akron. How can they be on the list before we? It's ridiculous. This council know what's going on in this city. You don't need anyone to tell you. ARPA dollars should be spent in our communities first. First, not fifth or 10th, and not with little dribbles. I tell you, Council, it's a shame the way this city do us. But wait till voting time, we can see all your faces. You be in our churches, you be everywhere. But when it comes to support us, you're nowhere. So because of what I heard today, I'm going to save my speech for next week because I'm concerned about those ARPA dollars. Ward 3, no investment in 30 years. So I'll go. Beep.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove. That will conclude our public comment period for this evening. We'll now move into our committee assignments. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco.
1.
Parks and Rec, Councilman Lombardo.
145.
Public Utilities and Green Committee, Councilman Freeman.
230.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian. 230. Rules, Councilman Freeman.
2 p.m.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman.
3 p.m.
Public Service, Councilman Kamer.
2 p.m.
Public Safety, Councilman Kamer.
2:15.
Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco.
Subject to call.
Thank you. Is there anything else coming before council at this time?
Motion to adjourn.
Before we do that, I just want to make one thing very clear, just in response to Mr. Hargrove and your comments. Just want to let you know that ARPA dollars are coming to your community first, particularly Ward 3, when we talk about a major investment into Ed Davis Community Center, a community center that has had very little investment, is going to be getting a major overhaul and renovation. So you will see dollars coming there. Also coming to Ward 3, ARPA dollars in Summit Lake Community, a tremendous amount of investment in a neighborhood that has been overlooked for a very long time. So dollars are coming to Ward 3, and they're coming there first. So I just want to make that clear to you. Thank you so much. We have a motion on the floor for adjournment. If there are no objections, meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.